get this locked in, then we know that we've got a rigid baseboard to start off with. Because if that doesn't work, then it is back a little bit to the drawing board and find out how much we have to.
There are 2 houses in Glinton that are built on top of this stuff.
Yeah, my extension is
on top of it.
my extension's on 500 mil.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be absolutely fine.
Right, well, welcome everybody to Market Deeping Model Railway Club and a presentation of a new project that has just been started. I'm just going to go through the team briefly. So introduce yourselves for the viewers, starting off with yourself, Peter.
I'm Pete Davies, I'm the chairman of the club.
Mick Quinn.
I'm Dave Ashwood, Vice Chairman.
I'm John Harrison.
Robin Taylor.
Aileen Frisbee.
And I'm Bill Sowerby.
Right, well, these are going to be familiar faces over the coming months because we've started a new project in TT 120. Now, I know that there are a few layouts that are ongoing. We've seen some builds on our own web. And of course, many of these new boxes arriving with people who have purchased them via Hornby. Of course, there are a number of suppliers which have now produced a range of track, the likes of Pico. We've got this little handy template set here from West Hill Wagon Works for setting the radii of track. But what it doesn't explain is the project that we've got in front of us. Bill, why don't you start off with sort of the seed that was sown when I visited your premises a couple of months back?
Yes, basically we started off by given the challenge to build a layout that represented the Dawlish coastline, which is obviously has had quite a few builds over recent months. We took the layout to take into account from the sea coming up to the sea wall and then going up to the track bed and then the cliff face, and it's between the Clark's Tunnel and that of the Parsons Tunnel. We did several photograph sessions and we've taken it from that basis. The challenge that Howard gave us was to make it as light as possible, and to that end we've gone and used a styrofoam baseboard. Again, this is quite lightweight. The only problem being is it'll take weight, but it's easy damage on the end. So what we've tended to do is to make a framework that would clip together with plywood and the styrofoam fit in. The baseboard itself was designed to be a 10 foot by 4 foot. So we have done a profile there using 4 foot by 2 foot boards on trestles, and that was the layout that we've come out with. And then now you can see that represented by full sheets. Peter with the team of juniors have designed the track layout, and Peter can probably explain how they've come up with the track.
We've used AnyRail 6.52 and just put together using prototypical radii rather than streamline flexible the minimum that we think we can get away with. Most of the curves, the hard curves, will be hidden in tunnels because what we want is a long track along the sea wall so that we can see pretty much full length HSTs running in both directions, the odd freight, bearing in mind China Clay and Cornwall and all that sort of thing. So there's all sorts of interest that we can build into it. The challenge is going to be getting the cliff face right, getting the levels right, and that's what we're involved in doing at the moment, working from sea level to track level to rock level, because we want all of those profiles. We want it really interesting for folk to see and look at, and to see the trains running pretty much as they would be in real life.
Dash, I kind of threw you all in the bit of the deep end here when I said that I was interested in Dawlish Wall, because I had memories myself of when I was very, very young, seeing the layout Holiday Haunts, the O-gauge layout at exhibitions, where it was trains, height of summer, sea, coastal routes, and it just sort of got me thinking about this tabletop layout. Talk us through a little bit of the research that's gone into this, because I have to say, when I turned up this evening, I wasn't expecting you all to have carried out this much research already.
Yes, well, we've already been down to site to see the current state of affairs at Dawlish. So the new sea wall through Dawlish itself. That's been largely finished. It's also resulted in the removal of most of the beach at high tide, unfortunately. So compared with Victorian times, which previous models often covered, the beach has denuded and disappeared. And it's the same going along towards Parson and Clark's Tunnel, hence the stress that this area is being put under at the moment. There's a lot of work being performed at the moment by Network Rail, remedial work to prevent collapse of cliffs. So when we were down there were teams abseiling up and down, underpinning going on, as well as an avalanche shelter. So there's a combination of things today, but also things that existed in the 1980s onwards that potentially we could model here, and therefore keep it a combination of contemporary, but also in keeping perhaps with the HST liveries that TT are producing.
It wasn't Mick abseiling down that wall, was it?
No.
So this is another thing as well. We've got to try and tie in what's going to be available in the recent or the forthcoming year or so from Hornby as part of its TT 120 range. So hence you've mentioned that the HSTs there. So we've got two sets on order, one in Intercity, one in blue grey. Hopefully both are fitted with sound, so we'll be able to give those a good spin on the layout. What other freight can we expect to see along the coast, do you think?
One of the biggest challenges is the type of freight. For example, there's some fuel freight that goes along there. There's China K trains that run in the mid-evening, and there's a fair amount of overnight. So we'll do the usual thing that modelers do, which is a very fast integration of everything. The forthcoming Class 50 that Hornby will come out with will be ideal, but the contemporary trucks with it, such as the VGAs, wouldn't really appear in this area. So we'll be a bit challenged initially, hence the fact that we've got the Easterner and others at the moment just modelling the scale.
Yeah, we've got a little 08 there and a selection of rolling stock behind it, just testing out. So what stage are we at the moment then? What are we working on at the moment, Bill?
Well, the next phase now is to make the supporting boxes to take each of the baseboards. From there, once we get those, we can assemble them. We will then lay out the track, test the track to make sure that the radii are correct and they fit in. There's various thoughts of what radii we should be using for the HSTs. Unfortunately, we don't have any HSTs available at the moment to check those out. But we've made little mock templates, and so we will do our best to test that we get the right radii. From there, once we can then start laying the track, and we will then divide into several teams. One team working on assembling them, other teams working on building the diorama itself, making the sea, the beach, the track bed, and up onto the cliff face, and other teams working on the electrics. The intent and challenge is to have it complete by the end of the year, beginning of January, and as you requested, we want this to be shown at the BRM show in February at Doncaster. So if you get a chance, that's the challenge. Come along and you should see it there. Fingers crossed.
Gulp. Set yourselves a deadline now. So it's now in the public domain that it's got to be ready for February for the Doncaster show. We have booked a provisional space for it at the show, so no pressure at all. Whatever form that will be, hopefully nearing completion. But there are a number of challenges with this build. I'm aware of that. I wanted it to be something different, so we're trialling new baseboard techniques here. Even the way for just show us through this little method actually of connecting two boards together, because these are adjustable, aren't they? These little clamps.
Yeah, they're quite common actually. You may have seen them at a number of exhibitions that people are tending to use these days. They easy fit on. Unfortunately, with these being joined in the centre, obviously you can't use these. But once you sort of assemble them, your baseboards, so you slide together, close the clip on, and that you can see is rigid. And no matter what you do, you can't. And as we said, the styrofoam will fit into there, glued into place, and that should support. fixed onto trestles. The idea being is that we tended to make this at a height that will suit people with disabilities. This is one of the things that's been asked from yourselves, so we can get people with wheelchairs coming up close to it and to be able to operate that layout. So we as you said, there's various challenges, including accessibility as well.
Well, there we go. That's an introduction to this fantastic new project. I'm really looking forward to seeing it progress, particularly that massive cliff that we're going to have sort of midway. It's going to be a bit of a head scratcher that to sort of get all of that supported. But thank you to our sponsors, so Hornby for supplying us with the stock, and Pico for the streamline track, which we'll be looking out for, looking forward to testing that. We've also got some Hornby track on display at the moment in the fiddle yard, but in the meantime we are looking forward to seeing some more of these TT120 products come to market. So there you go, that is a look at the layout, which has yet to be named. That's something else we've got to come up with. Dawlish sounds a bit obvious, but you never know, that might be the name. Until next time, thank you.